ASMR Retro Forever. Hey guys, welcome back to ASMR Retro. Today I'm going to review The Lion King. This is the 1994 version, not the more recent one. Of course, it's a classic Disney movie. And this was a request by Michael Killey. Thank you very much, Michael. Michael is a super broski on my Patreon. And if you want to make a request for an ASMR video, check out my Patreon. The information and link is in the description of this video. So yeah, I'll give you my background with this movie. I grew up watching, in terms of Disney, I'm more familiar with like the short animated stuff they did, like with Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Donald Duck and stuff like that. But I did watch these movies in the 90s, like Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, that kind of stuff. But because I had this cousin, or I still have this cousin. But every time I would go over as a kid, she'd want to watch a Disney movie because she had like a billion of them on VHS. And I was always like, okay, fine. And then, I was a bit reluctant, but then I always ended up enjoying the movies when I watched them. So I did see Lion King, but it was like years ago. So it was nice to be able to go back and watch this movie after so many years. So yeah, let's get some background of the movie. It is directed by Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff. I think that's how you say it. And there's quite a big star-studded cast. Let's see, there's Matthew Broderick as adult Simba, Jeremy Irons as Scar, James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Yeah, it's the voice of Vader. Whoopi Goldberg is Shenzi, one of the hyenas. Rowan Atkinson, who's Mr. Bean, but he plays that bird character. So many names on the list. Cheech Marin is another hyena. Owen Young, Simba, is Jonathan Taylor Thomas from what's that show called? The Tim the Two-Man Taylor Show. It's escaping my mind now, but anyways. So pretty good cast and crew. Well, cast anyways. Okay, so let's go over a bit of basically recap of the movie. You have that iconic intro, starts with the sun rising, and the animals coming out, they're waking up, they're doing their thing, and you got the Circle of Life song, which is just such an awesome way to start the movie, very iconic, even though I haven't watched the movie in years, I remember that part, and I've seen it, parodied and whatnot. But when I was watching this, I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that an Elton John song? But that's not his voice. But the Elton John version is at the end of the movie in the credits, so I think this version was better for the intro. And we start off with Simba's baptism. Mufasa and his wife, I can't remember the wife's name, but he's the king of the area, the land or whatever, and they have a baby, Simba, and their lands, by the way, if I hadn't made that clear. So he's like pretty freshly born, I guess, and there's this monkey character, I forget his name too, but he's kind of like the medicine man or whatever, and he holds up Simba up to the quote-unquote people. They're not people, they're animals, but the people of the kingdom, kind of like his, you can kind of say like a baptism or whatever, showing it to the people, and all the animals like go nuts, and they start like, partying and all that, and Simba's like looking around like, what's going on here, which I'm happy. I was waiting to see the reaction on his face. I'm like, oh my god, if they make him smile, I will I'm gonna turn this off, but like it did a right reaction where he's like confused, right, because he's just a baby, doesn't know what's going on. And then what happened? Okay, so Mufasa, as I said, is the king, and he's voiced by James Earl Jones, which is just a great choice for this character. What a great voice. And then we're introduced to Scar. Scar is Mufasa's brother, and he missed the ceremony, and Mufasa's like, oh, why'd you miss the ceremony? And basically Scar, he wants to be king. He's jealous, and he was first in line, or next in line to be king, but then Simba was born, so he's like, oh man, he's thinking I'm never gonna be king. So he's one to watch out for. And then Simba and okay, so now Simba's a little bit older, but still a kid, and they're watching the sunset, and then Mufasa's like, everything that light touches will be yours, and he explains the circle of life and all that, which kind of reminded me of that. I mean, it's obviously a parody, but the South Park episode where they, Mr. Hanky, thought, that song about the circle of Pooh, I think they called it. That's where it came from, obviously, but I thought I thought this scene would be longer, like, explaining the circle of life, but, anyway. And Mufasa shows Simba how to bounce, using the bird, Zazu as a target. So that's a nice scene there. But then later on, Scar tricks Simba to go to the northern border, which he's not supposed to go to, and it's called the Elephant Graveyard. Because Simba knows he's gonna be king, and he wants to show that he's brave or whatever. And he's like, oh, I could do that. So Simba and Zazu, the bird, and his friend Nala, I believe her name is Nala, they go to the northern border by themselves. So then on the way they sing a song about how Simba can't wait to be king. And then eventually Zazu is sat on by a rhino. So Simba and Nala go to the graveyard on their own. But eventually Zazu catches up with them and tries to stop them. And then 3 hyenas show up. That's one of them was voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, and the other is, Cheech Marin. But anyways, the cubs take off, but the hyenas get Zazu. Simba scratches one of the hyenas, saving Nala. Then he tries to roar at them, but it's like a very weak roar. And then you hear the king, Mufasa, roar, and which saves them, and the hyenas take off. And the king is, Mufasa's like upset with Simba. Simba feels sad, of course. And then we see that Scar witnessed the whole thing. Just gotta turn my notes over here. Okay. So then, Mufasa teaches Simba a lesson, and they're walking, and a nice little shot was when Simba sees his dad's footprint in the floor. It's huge, and then he puts his little paw in it, and it's like, oh man, I have big shoes to fill, so to speak. But anyways, Mufasa teaches him about bravery, and that even kings get scared. It's okay to be scared. They have a tender moment, and then he tells Simba that the great kings look down from the stars to guide them. We learn that Scar is working with the hyenas. He wanted them to kill Simba and the king, I guess. So yeah, obviously Scar wants to be king, and we see a whole army of hyenas that are at the command of Scar. So later on, Scar has a surprise for Simba. So Scar is Simba's uncle, obviously, and Simba trusts him. He doesn't know that he's up to no good. So Scar tells Simba to wait on a rock in this certain area, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go get your dad. Just wait here. But he's like, in the meantime, practice your roar. You need a better roar. So he leaves, and then they're in like this gorge valley area, and Simba's practicing his little roar, and he's practicing on this iguana, but the iguana is like, nah, I'm not having it, I'm not scared of that. But then he does a good one, a good roar, and it appears to trigger a stampede of wildebeests, but it wasn't really his roar that did it. It was the hyenas that it was all part of the trap, the Scar's trap. So I'll run into all the wildebeest run into this valley, and Scar goes to tell Mufasa. He's like, oh my goodness, you gotta go save your son, he's trapped or whatever. And then long story short, Mufasa is able to save Simba, but he's trying to climb up this cliff after being kind of battered by by the stampede. And then Scar scratches his hand as he's hanging on the cliff, and then he falls to his death, basically. But just before he falls, he's like, "Long live the king," which is pretty ruthless. It's a really good animation while he was falling too, by the way. Good stuff. And then this is probably one of the saddest parts ever. Simba, the stampede finishes, and then Simba goes to its dad's body, and he's like trying to, wake him up. He's like, "Get up, Dad, get up." And it's very, very sad indeed. And he kind of, he starts crying, and he just goes under his dad's arm. And then Scar shows up, and he's like, "What have you done?" Scar convinces Simba that it was his fault, and says he should run away. And so Simba starts running away, and then Scar sticks the hyenas after him, but he gets away, and the hyenas are like, whatever, we'll just tell Scar that we got him. So now Scar takes over as king, and I don't know, that monkey character, I think I mentioned him before, is not too happy. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that. So one part he draws like a picture of Simba's face on, I don't know if it's a tree trunk or a stone or something. But on this part, he kind of like wipes it a little bit. Kind of like a swipe delete. Okay, that'll come into play later on. So now Simba, it passes out in this like deserty, dry area. He's being circled by buzzards, and he meets up with a warthog named Pumbaa and a meerkat. I believe it's a meerkat named Timon. Yeah, that's how I think you say it. Simba is, so they save him, and Simba's very sad, and they're trying to cheer him up, and Pumbaa's like, "Hey, what's eating you?" And Timon's like, "Nothing, he's on top of the food chain." So I thought that was kind of funny. It's a very humorous pair of characters. So they cheer him up by singing the Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata. I think that's a good trigger word, right? Anyways, they cheer him up by singing that song, which basically means no worries. So, don't worry about the past. Just, have fun and yeah, no worries, basically. That's probably one of the more catchy songs in the movie. And then that cheers him up, and then they become good friends, and they teach him how to eat grubs and insects instead of like zebras and all that stuff. So now we flash forward, and Simba is an adult, and he's still hanging out with his two broskies. And we go back to the I think that the area is called the Pride Land, like where that was basically Mufasa's domain, I guess. So we're back there, and Zazu is now Scar's prisoner, and he has to entertain him. He has to sing him songs and stuff. And then the lionesses are refusing to hunt, and the hyenas are complaining like there's no food, blah blah blah, this sucks. So the Pride Land is falling into a state of crappiness, I guess. And then now we're back to Simba and his two broskies, and they're just chilling at night looking up at the stars, and they're like, "Where do you think the stars come from? Like, what do you think the stars are, or whatever?" And Timon says that they're fireflies, and Pumbaa says that they're great balls of gas far away, or whatever, which is correct, but he's supposed to be the not so smart one, but he gets it right. And Simba says that they're dead kings, and like his dad told him, or whatever, and then they laugh at him, and Simba is sad again. And that monkey character, the baboon, has a prophecy that Simba's still alive. And then he draws a meme on that Simba drawing, and he's like, "It is done." Oh, no, it is time, sorry. So then Pumbaa now it gets hunted by this lioness, technically, and Simba jumps in for the save, and then he realizes that it's Nala, his girl, well, not his girlfriend, but his female friend when he was a kid. And then they're like, "Oh my god, they're both happy to see each other, and Simba doesn't want Nala to tell anyone. And Simba and Nala do some courtship, they have some sweet moments, some flirting or whatever you want to call it, and then they quote-unquote kiss. Not really kiss, but I guess in the blind world, it's like nuzzling, I guess, technically speaking. So, Timon and Pumbaa are sad though because they think that if Simba falls in love, then he's gonna leave them. Anyways, he won't tell Nala, I think is right? I don't know. He won't tell her about how his dad died or how he thinks he died. Like, he won't tell him that it was his fault, or at least he thinks it's his fault. So then, she tells, Nala tells Simba that Scar let the hyenas into the Pride Land and all that, and he's not too happy about that. Okay, so Simba still blames himself for all this, and the monkey ends up showing Simba. The monkey catches up with him, or finds him, or whatever, and I guess Simba doesn't remember him, or maybe didn't even interact with him much as a kid. I don't know, but he didn't seem to know who he was. And the monkey shows Simba a vision of Mufasa in the sky, and tells the king, Mufasa tells Simba to take his place in the circle of life, which I thought was a good line. And he says, "You are my son and the one true king." And that's interesting because James Earl Jones commonly has some connection to his son character, like as Darth Vader when he's talking to Luke and he's like, "No, I am your father." And then in Conan the Barbarian, he's talking to Conan, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's like, at the end of the movie, he's like, "My son." He's not his real son, but just, And then what was the other one? Oh, and then Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. He plays pretty much the same kind of character as in this movie, sort of. Anyways, it's a little sidetracked there. So, Simba finally decides to go back and face his past, and back home he sees that it's basically a wasteland. Nala and Timon and Pumbaa are there to help him take back his kingdom. They use Timon and Pumbaa as life bait to get by the hyenas. Scar slaps Simba's mom after an argument, and Simba sees that and he's like, "Oh, hell no." So he jumps into action there. Scar forces Simba to say to everyone that he's responsible for his dad's death. Simba backs up and then goes off a cliff, and Scar gets close to him and whispers that it was himself, like it was Scar that killed Mufasa. And Simba jumps up and forces Scar to tell everyone that it was him. So then we have this huge battle with the hyenas and Simba's broskis. It's great visuals and lighting, by the way, in these final scenes here, the big battle scene and stuff like that. Shading or lighting or whatever you want to call it, it was very well done. He tells Scar to run away, just like how Scar told him to run away. So Scar throws some like ash and embers in his eyes, and we get a big fight between the two of them. It's a pretty cool fight, actually. Very looks very lifelike to how lions would fight. Scar leaps, Simba kicks him off the rock, and Scar is at the bottom of that rock thing, and like there's a bunch of hyenas encircle him. I think I forgot to mention that. Scar blamed hyenas for what happened, so they're like, "Oh, I don't think so." So I guess they attack him, and I guess he dies. Well, we don't really see it, but can only presume. And then it's like a little bit later on, Simba goes to the rock ledge, what do they call it, Pride Rock, and that's a huge roar, and he's kind of like him saying, "Yo, I'm back, I'm the king." So some time passes, and life has returned to the area, and now Simba and Nala have a baby, and the cycle repeats itself, because a monkey dude holds him up, and everyone bows or goes nuts or whatever they do. And that's pretty much it. moments with Simba and his dad, especially when his dad died, and man, that was I had to get something out of my eye during that scene, if you know what I mean. Touching moments with his mom and his girlfriend. Let's see, the animation was very well done. Obviously, it's Disney; they always do good animation. Although I still kind of prefer the older animation style that I would see in older Disney stuff. But still, it's very well done. Let's see. The music is catchy. Especially that intro was amazing with that version of The Circle of Life. I'm not really big on musicals or the musical numbers, but they were catchy and they did what they had to do. And there wasn't too many of them. It wasn't too intrusive, so that was good. And just this overall story, it's like a classic redemption story. And I've said this. You probably know this if you've been watching my channel. That I'm a wrestling fan, and you probably didn't think I was gonna connect this to wrestling, but similar to wrestling, I like when they keep it simple but powerful. Like you have to hit one of the base emotions, like either revenge or passion or whatever, and that whole redemption, the need to redeem yourself, is one of those things that I think everyone can relate to, and could be moving if it's done right, and it was done right. So I don't know if I explained that properly, but I think you know what I mean. No, I hope I do anyways. And yeah, the voice acting, like I said, great cast of voice actors, especially James Earl Jones. And so it's overall very well done, very entertaining movie, very touching movie, and I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I mean, this next comment is more of a comment rather than a criticism, maybe, but I did as more of an observation actually that it's very short. Not really. I mean, back then movies were a lot shorter than they are now, but it does feel like it has an epic feel to it that you would think it feels like it should be a little bit longer, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. But back then, that was standard length for a movie. But on the other hand, maybe that's good. It could be a good thing if you could tell a story in a short amount of time. You don't need to fill it up with filler, basically. So that's just an observation. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, to sum it up, it's a good movie. I recommend it if you like animated movies. I like this style of Disney movie much more than the newer style of animated movies. That's a topic for another day, but I highly recommend it if you're into that kind of thing. So anyways, that's my review of The Lion King. Thank you very much, Michael, for requesting it. And like I said, if you wanted to request it for your own, check out my Patreon.